Have you considered bending your own hard lines for your project cars, fuel lines or brake lines, but aren't sure how to go about it or what tools you need to get the job done nicely? I'm going to run you through a couple of the key tools you can use to make the job easy and manageable to do at home, as well as some of the different materials that Hardline is offered in. It's offered in three major different materials. The first one being stainless steel. This is the most common material for brake lines as well as fuel lines, but we also offer aluminium and we offer anodized aluminium. This is primarily for alcohol fuels that are highly corrosive. So if you have a car that runs on E85, this is what you want to use. I'm going to be showing you how to use a variety of tools on some 304, 316 stainless brake line, just because it's a little bit easier to bend than the larger 3/8 stuff I have in my hand here. Hardline! So the brake line always comes packed in the coil like this. So the first thing you're going to want to do is straighten it out. And while this stuff can be bent by hand, if you want a really attractive final product, you want to straighten this out into a dead straight bar before beginning to bend it into your final shape. For that we have this pipe straightener. Now this is adjustable, so it'll suit just about every diameter of hard line available. You do need a vise for this, obviously. And while it can be hard to measure, it's much easier to work in smaller sections, as this is 7 meters long and it can get awkward. So grab yourself a pipe cutter. These are only a couple of bucks and way better at the task than a grinder or a hacksaw or anything like that. So we'll just work with this section. Open it up. Pop your hard line in there like there and tighten this down onto it. Doesn't have to be silly tight, just firm. As you can see, it straightens it out. If it's still got a bit of a bow in it, tighten it up a little more and you'll get a feel for where it's happy. So just there. It's pretty good. So now we'll start working with the straight bar. The first tool I'm going to show you is a handheld flaring tool. This tool caters to 3/16 and 4.75 millimeter hard line. The kit consists of two different basic handles and dies depending on the size you're using, and the 3 dies you're going to screw into those to create your flare. It creates the flare in 4 different steps. The first step is going to be one of these, which is labeled stop, and this positions your hard line in the correct position in relation to depth with the die. Then you have the first step, which is going to create a single flare, and if you're going to do a double flare, which you do require for a brake line, then you're going to follow steps 2 and then 3 to create that. It also comes with a small tub of grease just because it makes creating the flare a little bit easier on the tool. This is fantastic as you can create a flare while the hard line is actually in the vehicle, rather than having to have the entire thing out of the car on a bench with a vise. All right, the second tool I'm going to show you is a bit more of a professional grade flaring tool. This one is required to be used in a vise, but it caters to a very large variety of sizes. As you can see, it has this wheel here. While it costs a little more, if you're doing a very large job or numerous jobs, this is your best friend. It's pretty self-explanatory. It goes in the vise like that. Just like the last tool, there are a variety of dies with the sizes written on them. These dies are inserted into here along with your hard line. And then using the handle, these have steps written on them depending on the size. Step 1 and step 2. Really, really simple to use, really, really fast. Again, if you're doing a large job where you're required to create a large number of flares, or this is something you do every day, this is really the style of tool you want. So they're the 2 basic styles of flaring tool. Next we have the 2 different kinds of pipe bending tool. The first one, and the most commonly used one, is this small one here. Again, like the first flaring tool we showed you, the best thing about this one is you can create a bend in situ on the car, save having to pull a potentially awkward line out of the car and kinking it. It's just quicker and easier. Basically, it sits in there along the rollers as such, and you can roll it around that way or around that way as well. Really, really easy. The other style of tool is this one here. This is a bit easier again, but it's a little bit bulkier, so in small tight spaces it's a little hard to get into a gap, but it works in much the same fashion. It sits between the two rollers like that, and you squeeze it and it will produce a bend just shy of 90 degrees. If you do want that 90 degrees, I tend to just kind of help it out a bit. But between those two tools, you should be able to achieve just about any bend you need. And that's it. Hopefully these few tools and tips will help you get your project one step closer to being on the road. If you want to shop our full range of different hardline materials and tools shown here, head to sparesbox.com.au.